Legacy isn't necessarily what you design or anything you can predict. Whether you have children or not, you're going to leave a legacy. Everybody makes impacts on other people beyond just having some kind of... It doesn't really feature in my mind a lot, but it doesn't really... Sometimes it does, but I worry more like a childless person as well sometimes, but at the same time, impact, legacy, whatever the F that is, it's just, it's myriad, complete network of things that we are. It's not one single value. It's the sum of our life contributions, and we don't necessarily mean in a traditional sense of career trajectory. That doesn't necessarily, apart from if you get written down in the history books, that doesn't have a lasting impact, but there are knock-ons all the time, things you're doing. If you have good impacts and good impacts on the world, that's going to be a good... And we can't always help the impacts we have or plan them, but we will. If your summary of your personality is everything that you either directly caused or passively, like some niece down the line, great grandchild or grandniece or whatever, or some historian or random person stumbles on something you did and it means something to them. I mean, writing is kind of a legacy thing, but it doesn't necessarily aim to achieve greatness or smallness, really. It's a thing besides achievement, really, in some ways, although it's lasting. And there are those kinds of imaginations in the poetry world. You kind of like somebody to look at your outpourings and think something nice about them, or have some kind of positive impact, or I don't know, feel things. But at the same time, it's a bit weird, isn't it? There's being examined in the kind of depth, and really that's because, yeah, you struggle with having conversations with people in that depth in reality, and that's probably how it is the other way around as well, from the study point of view. But yeah, it's kind of an interesting, flattering thought. It is what it is. Not everybody likes that phrase. Sometimes it's useful, but yeah, it's just like random archaeology, amateur archaeology, or just knowing of you. Somebody reads your name in a list of people, sees notes about or researches the house, or there are or people that have listened to things you've said and been moved one way or another. I just... And some of it's random, because things like Heath Robinson contraptions, the chaos of it, positives can lead to negatives and negatives can lead to positives. It's kind of... But you don't want... You just... It means legacy just is what it is. It's not a thing that can really be quantified, but it definitely exists. No, it's not a thing that can be quantified, but it definitely exists. In myriad ways. You leave a mark on the world. Everybody leaves a mark on the world in ways we cannot comprehend fully. From how many resources we used, or bits of litter or rubbish we made, to whether you bombed Iraq or Iran. But those are bigger order things. But like the tiny stuff matters, and And it doesn't, because it's whoever's lens it is, and there are thousands of all the reality, the concrete substance of these things just active status in the world that kind of is all a knock on complex network of networks, people, things, and even to say things is just reductive. Plants, animals, systems, like order and disorder. I'm getting a headache now here because I'm thinking too hard. But maybe, yeah, it's just like a rabbit or a clam don't need to think about legacy, but they have one. They weren't planning to be discovered as a fossil thousands of years later, millions of years later, but they still have one. So if you're sitting there worrying about legacies, don't, because you're a clam in some ecosystem that will be discovered or not discovered thousands of years later, but will leave your impact to make your mark. It's at the very least. And what do you think is good enough? Do you not find fossils magic? I don't know. I don't mean magic, I just mean like special. I just read half an article about legacy and people who don't have children, by choice or not, thinking more about their own mortality in a particular way, but it just seemed a bit alien. And maybe that's a pretense, because I do think about them both. But at the same time, I'm just constantly aware of just how interconnected we are with other stuff, and I culture it by thinking about. This article described a deliberate culture of thinking about legacy that as if it was a drive that just popped up in their heads of people who weren't doing it subconsciously. And okay, that's psychological research, but my experience has been more about with elements of both of those, I guess. But I'm more conscious about those things, but and also questioning it, and also looking at, certainly like thinking about suicide, thinking about how even when I feel absolutely worthless and nothing, and when other people do, we matter to people we think we don't matter to. And even if you died, you would make. Sorry, I don't know why I'm getting sad now. But you matter to people you think you don't matter to. Even if it's all like beyond. And they're just. It's not just having to scrape you up, it's kind of positive stuff. And people care, but you're still in the hole and lonely, so it's complicated, but you can't say you don't matter, and other people are out there. And there's just like, it's a complex network of problems or states. The kind of it's like a choose your own adventure book, that not in terms of the being able to run through an adventure in a choose your own adventure book, but just like the physical thing of the book, there are so many potentials and so many exact circumstances that and setups of things that touch each other. Lives touch each other. Existence touches itself. Its existence is a great spider web or something. It's like a big, like those flat spider webs. If existence or consciousness maybe, but no, that's going to be woo. But if existence is a giant, if there is a plane of existence metaphorically, it's not an emptiness. It's more like a spider web, a flat spider web, sheet spider web, and by that's a very 2D sort of image in my mind. But if giving some sort of like curves, but the reality is that like just sitting in the room and raising the temperature here, which is altering how that wardrobe in front of me is aging. There's the light is collecting dust, and that dust will remain wherever it goes to. Could affect the lungs of somebody else, could just be, there's thousands of microscopic lives potentially, like dust mites living up in that light. Don't know if it'd be thousands or not, but anyway, but there's like realms on realms upon realms of little worlds that the mosaic of life, it's like 4D mosaic of life that's continuing because of you and in spite of you and around you, and Demodex mites that spread, that birthed on your face. Of some have probably gone to live on other people, but there are nicer legacies. But what's not nice about Demodex mites, I don't know, there's one way to look at it anyway, that just because we're an ecosystem, is part of an ecosystem, we are just like thrumming alleles of the like DNA of the world. Or the, like microcosms of life, like a foci of life. And it's like the eddies that come out from us and come to us. Like I scratch my thing, and so there's just a flurry of skin cells going off to fertilise some like nascent life in the corners of the room. And yeah, you want to have clean things for human health and things, but it's not that there's no impact or discount everything. You've got ways. They say the body keeps score. Well, like in a less escalated type of way, the record that you were here is in the rest of the world. It dissipates, but it's not gone. It's thousands of tiny chains of causality that whether they were significant or not doesn't really matter, because the launching of 1,000 ships by a couple of skin cells is not exactly what the process is, but it's something like that. It's like, because except climate crisis matters and all of those things, wildlife emergencies. How conscious we are, but it's also overwhelming, and we can sometimes do more damage by being by trying, and sometimes do more damage by stressing out and going the other way. So I'm like, I don't know, if I don't use a car. I do use a car. I don't drive, but we use the car to travel some places, and we've got a fire. Just heard a knock noise. I think it was from next door. Brushing somewhere. Anyway, I don't know why I cried at that. But you know, you do matter to people, and you matter to people you know more than you think you do. You matter to people. It'll be a sort of a comforting, but also slightly emotional thought to think somebody will be like might be doing a genealogy research or just local studies history and be like, oh, look, that person was interesting. Huh. I wish they'd had a better life, or what kind of crazy person were they? If you've got a bit more kind of like ha 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 spice about you, the kind of impact you want to make, like a bit more. Sadism. I'm not that into that really, but I'm kind of a bit punk sometimes. In that, like, I don't know what I'm waffling about. I'm a rebel, but not just for. I'm a rebel just for kicks? No, I don't think I'm a rebel just for kicks. It's not just about like sending out nasty messages and feeling right about it. Though, like, when I read Martin Amis saying something like that about all political thought, I thought that was sad. It really upset me. It was an article in the Sunday Times or something where he said that. But because my dad used to get the Sunday Times. But to be honest, looking after yourself includes acknowledging and looking out for yourself of times of sort of like accountability and things like that. Means looking at things you don't like that could be true. But if you go too far, you can put yourself in a dark place. But if you kind of either like embracing it far too much or just hiding down in the dumps and kind of like I'm just beyond stressed, kind of trying to figure out who you are and what you are in some, or your worst pictures of things, the kind of paralyzing shame and anxiety. But yeah, it's one way to look at it. I think people are too scared to even try, though. They end up being, I don't think consciousness is everything, or mindfulness, or whatever, or finding out who you are. Sometimes I think that seemed like a way overrated thing when I was a kid. what are you on about? It sounded like an overwrought kind of religion without being a religion. It was like a spirituality that wasn't spiritual somehow. Some kind of, I couldn't quite put the idea of knowing yourself as a virtue or value into a context, really. Psychological richness is supposed to be a purpose to life. That isn't legacy, that's another count against the article, I guess. If they were more circumspect. I try very hard to be circumspect and to kind of clash all this. Perhaps it's in the same way that I used to fight Bible verses together and kind of worry them and read things obsessively and kind of try and work out what the truth through the battle. Just that alive kind of waffling and thinking in a way that'll evaporate and be gone, like the time you spent on an essay that in the comments that then disappeared. Is that time wasted? Yes, on some level it is, but on another way, you've thought those things, and it doesn't matter if someone's spying and somehow capturing that, that's it, but that's paranoid thought. And it's none of my business anyway, I guess, in a way. It's not anything I can control have control of or do anything with. But if there was like some part of that thinking that progressed my understanding and I talked to people about it, that's at least moved the world. The world has turned. It's not turned a lot, but it's all these ideas we have without being too like occult or kind of new age spiritual about it. It was like potential is a very weird thing. There are not just Schrodinger's cats in the world. There are like the real things like Schrodinger's cats are ideas that we have. Like I'm thinking about talking about turning or trophism rather than everything being so combative. Like, here's my emotional point and I'm going to come up with loads of facts to back it up. That's very aggressive in its own way and biased, because it's like it's emotionally, it's a biased process of, whereas just kind of like responding to your environment, say like a robot is bought to ease someone's loneliness in the film Robot, and then during the course of their lovely days out, the robot gets stuck on a beach, and then other things happen, and then it's emotionally difficult, but all right that they've got two people with two robots. That's a Kisho Tenketsu story, I think, and things have just turned or resolved or not resolved, but elements have come. The cycle of life has happened. Things have cycled. It's starlings fly and turn from each other. They don't necessarily just worry about what shape they're making in the sky. They're just making a shape in the sky. And that's not the goal. Or is it? Yes, it is. I think let's try and make some beautiful shapes. The Starling Ballet at the Murmuration. Do they feel exhilarated? Do they not? Does it matter if we are? And it matters for them. But at the moment, generally, we're just existing and so are they. And if you're in a silent retreat or Ruth Burlong, if you're in a silent retreat, there's impulses, everybody's brains are just happening next to each other, and that's the kind of point, rather than some kind of push, pull, give, take, build something necessarily. It's not, it doesn't have to be that active. You could see it as instrumental in, like, we go through this process and we look for an outcome, but on the other hand, it's just existing. It's not necessarily a hero's journey, it's just a journey. And plants are like that. Organisms, when they're that they move and respond to what's happening around them, they have goals, but nothing quite as lofty or aloof even of I don't know. I mean, reproduction isn't everything, but you never cease to be a part of the world. The world is always a part of you, and you never cease to be a part of the world, whatever happens.